Okay, right. So I'm just going to make sure I've accepted everybody in. Yeah, okay. Right, so thank you very much for joining us today. This one's all about, the whole day is all about global accessibility and digital accessibility. And this one is a nice quick one for us today, just to explore some of the accessible features within Teams. But it's all about helping to make sure that the experience that we are giving everybody else, so it's not just about making it accessible for us, but it's about the experience we give other people. And so one of the things that I'd like to invite you to do is, most of these sessions we're actually asking people to switch their cameras off, but I'm going to ask you to switch your cameras on just so that you can test out one of the features. And the first feature that we want to see, so that you all know how to do this, is some of you have already got the blurred background on, but some of you may not know why. A lot of people assume that the blurred background is all for privacy reasons, but it's not. It's actually one of these tools that's been developed as part of the suite of accessibility features. And so the blurred background is all about, it pops the speaker out of the page for people that have perhaps got a visual impairment, or for people that have a hearing impairment and actually require to be able to see someone's mouth so that they can lip read, as well as being able to sort of hear the individual in order to be able to understand. So just so that you all know how to do it, in the top toolbar, depending on which device you're on, but in the majority of cases it'll be on the top toolbar, you'll see that there's three little dots. And if you click on those three little dots, normally about halfway down, there's apply background effects. And if you click on apply background effects, you'll see you've got the blur feature. And if you click on the blur feature, it will apply. And then you can apply it, and then it will remember that this is the background setting that you've got for until you change it to something else. And this is a really powerful piece for it doesn't affect you personally, it affects people who are trying to see you and engage with you on the Teams screen. So it's actually a really nice feature to have. If you have this feature set as standard, then for anybody that's that you're in a team meeting with, it just makes it easier for people to see and for people to be able to actually navigate to your face. So there's one of the features of Teams. The next one is it actually avoids the noise. So if you can see around my background, it's kind of taken some of the noise away. And if you have really kind of jazzy backgrounds that from photographs or pictures that you put up, that can be quite distracting as well. So a nice blurred background or a nice plain background is actually really makes the experience on the other end quite a nice, useful experience for people. So you can switch your cameras off now if you want, because now you now know how to set that one. The other feature I wanted to introduce you to, and if you were on the call with Philippe earlier, he would have mentioned the live captions feature. So if you go back up to those three dots, you'll find on the top of your screen, and if you're on something like an iPad, it will probably be, if you tap on the page, you'll see the three dots come up. On those three dots, then a little bit from the bottom, it's normally about 4 from the bottom, there is turn on live captions. And if you switch on the live captions, hopefully what you'll see happen is at the bottom of the screen, you'll start to get the everything that I'm saying coming up as live captions. Now, what's really a lot of people will assume that this is purely for people who are deaf or hard of hearing, but in actual fact, what we do know is that for having subtitles on screen actually really helps everybody who is deaf or hard of hearing, but it actually helps people who are on the neurodiverse spectrum as well. So particularly people with autism, particularly people with ADHD, and even I think it was we talked about it on one of the earlier sessions about if you design for the highest level of impairment, sort of a permanent impairment, as opposed to a situational or a temporary impairment. If you design for that permanent impairment, that it actually makes life easier for everybody. So not just for people who have ADHD, having live subtitles, live captions like this, it actually makes it easier when you've got a lot of distractions. So if you've got a busy household at the moment while we're all working from home, or many of us are working from home, or if we're working in an environment where there's quite a bit of noise going on, if you switch on the live captions, it actually helps your concentration, just helps everybody with their concentration levels. Dyslexia. It might seem a bit counterintuitive to think that live captions would work for people with dyslexia, but it actually helps the brain able to process what's actually been said. And so some elements of for people who have dyslexia, this actually aids comprehension. So if you then extrapolate that up to the general population, it actually helps when you're studying. So if you're delivering a training course, or you're doing a presentation where you're actually where you want people to learn, if you encourage people to switch the subtitles on, it actually aids learning and comprehension for everybody. So there's another one of the features. Now, there's another bit that I'd like a little bit of interaction here into the chat. So if you all switch the chat on so that you can see the chat. I've just seen that someone's put it that you're not seeing the live options. Yeah, Blue, that might be why, because you're on the Blue network. So this is coming. The Blue network, I haven't got the date yet when this rolls onto the Blue network, but it will be there. Certainly in the next few months. So it comes as part of the standard Teams package. It's on its way. So apologies if you can't see these at the moment, but you will be getting them. The other feature if you look into the chat now, there's a thing called the immersive reader, and I can see actually, Lisa, the comment that you've put up. For everybody else, if you hover over Lisa's comment, what you can see, or any of the comments in chat, you'll get a line of emoticons pops up, and there's 3 little dots. And in those 3 little dots, if you click on, you can see there's a selection called the immersive reader. And if you open the immersive reader, so this is for somebody who needs this, they will probably know that this is here. But for everybody else, just so that you know that this is there. This is a kind of the experience that you might have. So if people can't actually read because the text isn't large enough, you can open the immersive reader, and on the immersive reader, it blows up a window where you get the chat line much bigger. It comes up in a much bigger font, much more accessible font to read. But also at the bottom of that little open window that's opened up, it will have a little play button. So it will actually play the text. It will read the text to you. So for those people who have a visual impairment, then they can actually hear the text of what's been written into the chat function using that particular functionality. Okay, so that's the chat. Now, does anybody on this call, can anybody speak a different language? If you can, I would, yeah, it does say happy smiley as well. If you could put something into the chat in a foreign language, because we have a lot of people for whom English isn't their first language. And let's put some nice little statements into the chat. I'll put a couple in myself. Okay, so in the chat here, here's another little useful feature for us, particularly for a company like ours for whom English might not be the first language for many of the people that work for us. Again, where you hover over the chat, where you get the little emoticons come up. So if you're on an iPad, you might actually have to touch the line in the chat. But if you click on the 3 little dots in the chat, what you can do then is you can see there's a translate function, and it will translate that line of text for you. So I can see people are saying good morning. I think if I put this line in here, you should be able to see what I've just said about the weather in Paris. So as a chat function, it's a really nice way. So if you've got people for whom English isn't their first language and they want to ask a question and they're interacting with you in a team meeting, very easy to actually just type that in their own language and it will translate into English. Now, as the person for whom English may not be their first language, you can also set your own language to your native language, so your home language. You need to do that in your settings. And then it means that anything that's written in the chat in English will be translated into your own language. Oh, now someone's written in a lovely language there. Let's try this one. Long time no see. Fantastic. Excellent. So there we go. So there's another nice piece of functionality that we've now got in the chat. So yes, these are all from the inclusion point of view. It all really just helps the language piece. Now, the other bit that yes.
Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you. May I just ask, you said that in our settings we could change the language.
Yes.
Whereabouts is that?
So that would be not in this particular meeting, but when you go into the Teams app itself. Let me just see if I can show that on my screen. So if I let's put this up on my screen and let's see. Let me know if you can see this. If I share my window, if you can see my window now, can you see that? Is that sharing?
Yeah.
It would be in your settings when you talk about. Is it in this one? I can never remember which bit it is. You'll find it in your own main settings.
Question, haven't I?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It will be in your own settings here. There.
Perfect.
Can you see that one on the screen there?
Yep.
Perfect. Right, I'll stop presenting because I need to come to that bit again in a minute. Right. So the next bit is if you're having a team meeting, you've got people who are hard of hearing, people with visual impairments, they can all now join your normal routine, everyday business team meetings. You can connect with each other. Teams is by far and away the more accessible of our current features. It's much more accessible than Zoom. Zoom doesn't have a live caption feature. It's much more accessible than Skype. So Teams is the way to go. There is the next function I'm going to take you into is when we're recording this particular session. When you get a recording, so once you've recorded, if you're recording a meeting, if you're the person that's recording it, and I'm going to now share my screen. And let's share this one. So hopefully you can see this. So this is my diary. What you get is you'll get an email. And this is when I finish the recording, about an hour or so, depending on how long your meeting was, you'll get an email. And the email will tell you, it'll come from Microsoft Stream, and it will tell you that your content is now ready to stream. So this was a webinar that I recorded on Monday, and it's told me that it's been recorded, it's downloaded, and then what you can do is you go to your video. So you click on the link to go to where the video is actually being hosted. I'm just going to change my screen here so that I can see you as well as see this. There we go. So this is now opening up Microsoft Stream. So it's opening up the recording that you've just done. And this is about making this content more accessible for everybody that you're about to send it to. So everybody that is on the recording will automatically, it's now going to just ask me to silence. This is the single sign-on issues that we all get. Yes, I do want to stay signed in. While that's loading, what you can get to do is everybody that's in the meeting with you will get access automatically to the recording. But this is about how to make the recording accessible for people. So hopefully this is all now coming up. So, and I need to stop it because it will just start automatically playing. Wait for that to finish. So this is now, there we go. So this is now how the video looks. It's landed. You could just publish it straight away, but to make it accessible for people is you click on the three little dots that are here, and you're going to update your video details. And you can enter a bit more of a title, and you can select the language that you wish that to be in. So I've got this has been automatic because I did this one earlier. It's selected as English. And you can add more people or a channel, like a team. You've probably got a team channel for Teams, and you can add that channel so that everybody on that channel can actually see and have access to it. So I've clicked it to make sure this one is available for company-wide. But this is the important part over here. What you can do is you can tick this little box here that says auto-generate captions. The reason why I can't tick on it at the moment is because I've already auto-generated the captions so that you can see what that does. But you click on auto-generate your captions, and then you're going to click apply. So I'm just going to cancel out of this. That's the way to actually set it up. So that's the first thing you need to do when that email lands in your inbox is you click on and ask it to auto-generate the captions. it will take typically, if your meeting was an hour, it will take an hour to generate the captions. So you come back, let it go off, come back, and then you come back, and then the captions will all be there. So all of this live subtitling that's been going on whilst we've been doing this presentation starts to build a transcript here. And what you can now do is, once you've got your transcript, it's actually fully searchable, and it's editable. So it means that you can actually go in. It doesn't always pick up the words correctly, but it means you can go in and correct any of the words throughout the text. And it means then your subtitles will be absolutely perfect for that particular video that you're putting up. And once you've then finished editing that, you're quite happy to be able to share it. You can share, so you can actually add the detail, add it to channels, share the transcript. But the good news is here. So a bit later on, this was a video from Monday. We happen to be talking about music, so I can put in one of the songs was from Culture Club. So if I put in the word culture, and I press for the search, it will go straight to that point. It will see wherever we've picked up, we were talking about culture or the word Culture Club, and it will jump straight to that point in the video. But it means that, again, for learning or for a meeting that might have been quite important for people, it means that every single person in your team will now have a far more accessible version, because the transcript is fully searchable. And it also means that actually, if you're the person that's trying to take the meeting notes, is that you've got, instead of having the meeting notes, here you are, you've got your meeting notes have already been effectively done for you, and you can go back and recheck things as part of that. So there we go. That's our fully auditable, fully searchable transcript as well. And you can actually download that transcript as well if you needed to. So it's all made it a bit more accessible. So theirs goes from making a webinar more accessible in the first place, and then actually moving on to making the recording of that webinar more accessible for people once we've finished. So there's a little bit of some tools for us. I'll stop sharing that, and then just open the floor for any questions, if there are any questions for us.
That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. I have learned a lot.
Hopefully it just gives people a little bit of an insight into the kind of things that are there and available. I'm just going to drop a feedback form in the chat for everybody to use as well, just so that we can get some more feedback on the kinds of things that we know that we need to be able to show people how to do. But yeah, thank you very much indeed for joining, everybody. Any other questions before we go, or we'll head on off and then get ready for the next session?
I'm going to be practicing. That's all I can say.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, everybody.
Jane. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Well.
Thank you.
That's really
That's really
interesting.
good.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.